Hi guys, and welcome back to our video series on learning Kotlin. In the last video, we saw how we can declare variables using the val keyword and how we can print the values of these variables using string interpolation. In this task, we'll learn something about functions. So let's see what the tasks have to say. The first one is define a function print string that prints Kotlin. Okay, cool. So this is how you define a function in Kotlin. You use the fun keyword and followed by the name of the function and optional parameters. In this case, none. Now our function has to print Kotlin. We already know how to print, so let's print it. In order to execute the function, we need to invoke it from main. So let's invoke it, and when we run it, it should print Kotlin. Cool, awesome. So that one was easy. Let's look at the second task. Change the function to take a string parameter and make it print that. Oh, okay, cool. So we need to make our function a bit dynamic. So let's give it a string parameter. Let's say Kotlin for now. We get a red squiggly line. The IDE says the function does not accept parameters currently. So let's add the parameter. Cool. Let's rename our parameter and give it a more meaningful name. Let's pass it to print so that it prints it, and let's run the code. We get Kotlin, which is the same output as expected. Let's try to declare this as a variable and pass it to print string. So one thing we can understand from here is, since the type is inferred for variables, it kind of prompts you or provokes you to have more meaningful names for the variables. So without the type, with the type, you get more information as to what the variable is, but if it makes sense in the context for the type to be inferred, we automatically have to name our variables in a more meaningful way. That's just a small tip that I learned along the way. Cool. Let's look at the third task, which is define a new function add that takes two params and returns their sum. Okay, so let's define a function called add that takes two params. Let's call them a of type int, b of type int, and let's return their sum. Okay, we're trying to see what the error is, and it says change return type of enclosing function to int. Yes, because we are returning the summation of two ints, and which is an int. So let's return that. Now let's invoke main, and let's invoke add in main, and let's see what prints. So we don't get the output because we need to print the output of the return value of add. So we pass it to println in main, and when we run it, it should print 10. Notice that the IDE is kind of helping you understand what these values are. So the IDE helps you for primitives, and it helps with the variable names that you see here, a and b. It also helps for this, and also return types of lambdas, which we'll see later. Cool. The next task is to, should be 4. The next task is to write a unit test for add. Okay, so we want to test our code. Let's write a unit test for it. So we click on main, Command Shift T, and we can create a new unit test. Let's name it task03 tests, tests plural, because it's like having more than one test. Hit enter. Let's create it in src test Kotlin, and we see that JUnit5 is not in our path, Let's go to build.gradle, and I think I already have it in my copied values, so I'm going to paste it over here, and I'm also going to remove JUnit 4 just to avoid any conflicts in annotations like test. Okay, let's get back to our test, and now we see that the error is resolved. Says internal class, but okay, let's leave that for now, or let's remove it. We don't need it. We'll visit internals later. So the test function is again it starts with the keyword fun, and let's give it a name like given to arguments when add is invoked, then should return their sum. Just a descriptive name for the test. And let's capture the result of add in a variable called sum. Pass it 7, 3 and say assert equals how we test. So it should be 10. And let's run the test. Cool. So our expected value and our actual value is the same, which means that our function behaves correctly. We could have other tests for negatives and other stuff, but you get the point. Cool. Now, a thing that I would like to touch upon is there are no primitives in Kotlin, so everything is a proper type. In this case, it is int, which is similar to integer in Java. There are ways in which functions can be declared. So we saw the regular style. Let's look at the expression body. So if it would be something like, instead of saying curly braces and then a return value, if the function is kind of like a one-line function, you can actually do this. So you are actually defining the entire function in a single line. Also, because the summation of two ints is an int, we can actually ignore the return type and it would still work. Let's go back to our test and see if everything is good. And let's run it. Yep, looks good. The return type is inferred as I explained over here. Function parameters follow the parameter name and then the type, which is more close to a functional paradigm. This is opposite of Java, where the type comes before the actual parameter name. And there are no primitives in Kotlin. Cool, so that's it for this tutorial, guys. I will come with more language features in the next tutorial video. Till then, let me know what you feel about this in the comments, and let me know what I can incorporate in future videos. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.